Today, I want to talk about something that is super common when it comes to doing magic and getting results, and that is getting in your own way. This is a expansion upon my part 3 of my series, Why Magic Sometimes Doesn't Work, where I talked about purity of intent and being pure in your intentions when you do magic so that you're not fighting yourself about the results that you want. And in that part 3 of Why Magic Sometimes Doesn't Work, I go into depth about different ways where you could be wanting some kind of result, but not really sure if that conflicts with other things that you also want. So I talk about that a lot there. But what I have found is it's a lot more complicated than just two conflicting desires that are kind of fighting with themselves inside of you. I'm going to talk about why, for some people, certain areas of life, they easily do magic. For some people, that's money. They can easily make money just doing magic, and it's effortless, and they don't know why everybody isn't manifesting like they are. For some people, that's love, and that's easy to find the perfect partner, to create relationships. And for some people, that's health. They're just healthy and they don't have, a laundry list of ailments that other people seem to get. They just look at something and they've got another ailment. um, so, in terms of getting in your own way, and this is why some people are really successful in certain areas of magic, but in other areas, it seems like no matter what kind of spells they throw at it, no matter who they summon, no matter like what kind of practices they do, they keep hitting this brick wall. Especially if the other things, because usually if you're doing several methodologies, at some point you get the symbolism right. At some point, you've probably done as much real life stuff as you could possibly come up with. At some point, your belief system is, oh yeah, it works, especially, a bunch of other people who are getting this result. So you're like, yes, they got this result and they got the result and this person got a result. And like, why am I not getting results? Is there something wrong with me that I'm not getting the results that like, oh, I know like 30 other people, 100 other people, 1,000 other people who have these results. So the belief's there and the lust for result, like at this point, you've really kind of stopped caring about getting the result, like at least somewhat. So it's easy to blame lust for result for these things, but a lot of times it's not actually lust for result. But what it is a very persistent getting in your own way or lack of purity of intent. And one of the things I didn't realize is sometimes when I even think about doing certain things, I feel very, it's like painful to think about. Like I don't want to think about it. And it's attached to getting things that presumably I want. And then I think about doing the steps that would be required to get it. And I'm like, I don't want to do these steps. Like I want the result, but I don't want to go through the steps I know I need to take in order to get there. So a lot of it is just thinking about the steps and then just feeling like this, I want to say like this pain, like I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to do the thing, and then I don't do the thing, and that's like very much like avoiding pain, like being in my own way. And then sometimes I've pushed through to a certain extent, but being consistent with that pushing through, if it's still there, like I don't want to anymore. And so a lot of the getting in your own way is about, I want to say it's like about the subconscious, about like things that you just think about them and you don't want to do them because of prior negative experiences. Maybe they're relevant, maybe they're not, but it's like this pushback against yourself for like wanting the thing, even though at some point you may not have even had those blocks and those things may have just like not existed for you. But now that you're trying to get this result, it's like kind of the brick wall, because a lot of meditation practices will have you like visualize what it is that you want. But when you don't want to visualize it because you're like, I don't want to think about doing the XYZ that I know I would have to do to get this thing, like at a certain point it kind of shuts down, and because you stop visualizing the result because you're like, I don't want to go anywhere with this, then you're still in your own way, and you're still not getting the result. I want to talk a little bit about value conflicts that sometimes come up with these things, like you want a certain partner but you don't want to displease your family, so then you want to get together with that person, but then you don't, and so there's like a certain amount of conflict that might be going on for you, where you're kind of divided on like what's actually most important in your life. And that's just an example. This can happen with money, where you're like, okay, I want to make money, but I know I need to do certain things and I don't want to do those things, and then you just get into like the not doing them because you're thinking about the process, and then when you think about the process, you don't want to do it. And so a lot of that getting in your own way can come from past trauma that kind of comes back to you in the present, in terms of getting in your own way. So because this has been such a persistent problem with me, I actually invested in someone to help me get out of my own way. Because, you know, like I threw a lot of things at it to try to fix it on my own. But like, you know, honestly, I've really been my own worst enemy when it comes to getting out of my own way. And I think of all of the things in terms of why your magic sometimes doesn't work, probably the getting out of your own way is the one where you need other people's help the most. I mean, obviously sometimes with real life actions, those involve other people. Beliefs can be gotten from other people, but you can also change those on your own. The symbolism, you just look it up and you just fix it. And the lust for result is really more something like, it's kind of like the beliefs, you can more do that yourself. But I think getting out of your own way, like you can definitely get out of your own way. But for me, like I threw a lot of things at it, and at this point I'm like, yeah, I need some additional help with this. So I hope this was helpful, especially because sometimes we don't really understand what being in our own way is and what we need to change. So I'll see you in the next video.